Welcome to Hilary Emmanuel Ministries, where faith meets power, purity and prosperity, and breakthroughs are born. At Diadem, we equip you with bold prayers, life-transforming teachings, and spiritual strategies to overcome every challenge life throws your way. Join us as we dive into God's Word, experience His presence like never before, and walk in His purpose for our lives. If you're in London, we invite you to fellowship with us in person at Diadem, 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. Don't forget to subscribe now and let's grow in faith together.
I want you to follow me. I'm going to be relatively fast because the message is a bit lengthy because of the scriptures. I want to balance the message upon scriptures so that you understand how this topic we are dealing with today, how the Bible talked about it, how it affected the lives of the people of God in the scripture, in the Old Testament and New Testament, so that you can also connect it to your own life today and see how these things are possibly affecting you. So you need to have a balanced scriptural understanding of this topic, because tonight is a night of spiritual warfare, and we are going to fight against the high places of wickedness. We are going to demolish the high places of wickedness, and that's what we are talking about, demolishing the high places of wickedness. This topic has been so much talked about in the scriptures, but it seems that we are not dealing with it well enough. Look at Ephesians chapter 6. You know, one thing Paul the apostle said is this. He said the gospel he's preaching, he didn't learn it from the apostles. He didn't learn it from Peter. He didn't learn it from John and all of them that were with the Lord Jesus. He says the Lord himself. And you can see that the Lord taught Paul what he did not teach the other apostles, especially concerning spiritual warfare and in-depth understanding of the spirit realm. He didn't expose it to the other apostles. He gave Paul special insight into these things, and it's for a reason. Look at what he said in Ephesians chapter 6, in verse 10. He said, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." Take note of that. That is the activities of the devil, the operations of the devil, the attacks of the devil. And we are going to see, where does the devil operate from? Where does he launch this attack from? What are the whole concept surrounding these wiles of the devil that the Bible mentioned here? Verse 12. "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities." First one mentioned that one. He said principalities, and now talk about powers, and now talk about another categories again, which you call the rulers of the darkness of this world. The church is not talking much about these people. Who are the principalities? Who are these powers that Paul was referring to? Who are the rulers of the darkness of this world? He now mentions another thing, against spiritual wickedness in high places. High places. Where is this high places? And he says that it's through these agents, that the devil is unleashing his wiles against the earth, against mankind, against humanity. It's through this agent that he listed here, and he started saying, the church, you better be strong, you better put on your whole armor. He said, because don't just think, he said, this thing I'm telling you is not flesh and blood, it's not physical in nature. He said, these are the depth of the spirit realm, the depth. And if it's not affecting the church, Lord, brethren, why should Paul bother to talk about it? If it's not affecting the church, why should we begin to bother ourselves about it? It's because it's affecting them, because he said they have some wiles from the devil. Verse 13. He said, "Now that I've given you this knowledge, wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil days. And having done not to stand, he says, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. above all. You see, he first of all said something. First of all, listed the armor of protection. Armor of protection. Those are the list. He said, make sure you are well protected from these powers that operate in the high places. Now he now went further to verse 16. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts, arrows, darts, javelins that are going out from who? From the wicked. And they fire all these things day and night. So that's why we cannot talk enough about this. Verse 17. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayers and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints, say for all the children of God, because this thing is affecting the church of God. The operation of these agents of darkness. And look at what he now said further in Ephesians chapter 3, in verse 10. He said, why am I telling you all these things? To the intent, he said, my intention is that now unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places, that's in high places, might be known by the church. He said, I want the church to know about this. The church is supposed not to be ignorant of them. The church should be aware of their existence and their operations. He said that they may be known of the church, the manifold. He said this thing is the wisdom of God revealing this to the church. We are talking about the high places of wickedness. Numbers 21, look at verse 28. For there is a fire gone out of Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It has consumed Ar of Moab. He said Ar of Moab. He's talking about Moab. And the lords of the high places of Ammon. So which means high places have lords occupying it. They have lords occupying it. Gods and goddesses. Very serious spiritual power that live and occupy and live and dominate those high places. They are not just there existing for nothing. Verse 29. He had given his sons that escaped and his daughters into captivity unto Sihon king of Amorite. Do you see that? So now, assuming there is an idol in your place, there is an idol in your foundation, you are not worshiping it. Your family is not even worshiping it, but the community is worshiping it. The whole village, the whole tribe, they are worshiping it, and it's located in your place. Do you see that now? That's what happened to the whole of Moab. He said it affects their sons, it affects their daughters. And he lead their sons and their daughters to captivity. Verse 30. We have shot at them. Heshbon is perished even unto thy Dibon, and we have laid them waste upon Naphosh, which reacheth unto Medeba. Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites. So you can see that this is the impact when the high place is existing in any territory. High places have lords. High places have gods and goddesses and deities and idols that own them, that live there, that control them. That's what Paul was saying. He said these are principalities, these are rulers of darkness of this world. These are spiritual wickedness in high places. Numbers 22. Look at verse 38. Numbers 22 verse 38. And Balaam said unto Balak, Lo, I am come unto thee. Have I now any power? Take note of this. Have I now any power at all to say anything? When we read about the capabilities of Balaam, how he can curse anybody and that person will be cursed, how he can speak anything and that will be it. But Balaam himself is saying here, of myself I have no power. Of myself I don't have those capabilities you people are attributing to me. So brethren, human beings generally have no power on their own. But when they enter into a high place where they meet with a spirit being, they will receive power that they didn't have to do some terrible things. That's why you shouldn't allow high places to exist around you. That's why it is dangerous to live around a place that has high places. Now look at what he said. He said, the word that God putteth in my mouth, that shall I speak. So which means he's going to go into a high place and he's going to depend on a spirit being to put word in his mouth. Verse 39. And Balaam went with Balak And they came unto Kirjath-Huzot. And Balak offered oxen and sheep, and sent to Balaam and to the princes that were with him. And it came to pass on the morrow that Balak took Balaam and brought him up into the high places of Baal. Baal is an idol. Are you following this at all? He brought him to the high place of Baal. Why didn't he say, Balaam, now that you have come and curse Israel from my palace here, let's take here in my palace, let's go outside, or even go into the bedroom and curse them here? No, it will not be effective. He took him to a high place that belongs to who? To Baal. Why? He wants him to meet with Baal. He wants Baal to meet him there. He wants Baal to put the word in his mouth, to empower him to destroy Israel. That's the danger of high place. Let's read on. And thence he might see the utmost part of the people. Do you see the capability of high places? When any enemy, when you have any witch that is operating from a high place, you have any occultist that is operating from a high place, they will be seeing your utmost end. They can see even what you cannot see, because they are operating from the high places of darkness, from the high places of wickedness. He said, you will not be able to see them like this. Let's go to high place. There you will have special power and capability to see to their utmost end. Numbers 23. Look at verse 1. Numbers 23 verse 1. And Balaam said unto Balak, build me here 7 altars. Do you see what goes into high places? He will have said, where is the high place? He said, no, we have to build it. We have to prepare it. We have to construct it. And high places of darkness and wickedness, they are majorly altars, because that's where human beings meet with spirit beings. That's the place of exchange. It's a place of sacrifice. He said, build me here 7 altars and prepare me here 7 oxen and 7 rams. Why? Because that's a perfect place. That's the number of perfection. He wants the sacrifice to be perfect. He wants the high place to be perfect. He wants the altar to be perfect. He wants everything to be perfect, so that the spirit beings they want to attract, the Baal, might see the perfection and come. And Balak did as Balaam had spoken. And Balak and Balaam offered on every altar a bullock and a ram. Verse 3. And Balaam said unto Balak, stand by thy burnt offering, and I will go. Peradventure, the Lord will come to meet me, and whatsoever he showed me, I will tell thee. And he went to where? He went to an high place. He went to an high place. Do you see the power of the high place? He went to an high place to meet a spirit being. Remember what we read earlier? He took him to a high place of Baal. So let's continue. Verse 4. And God met Balaam. And he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars. That's the first thing he told God. I have prepared 7 altars, and I have offered upon every altar a bullock and a ram. And the Lord put a word in Balaam's mouth, and said, return unto Balak, and thus thou shalt speak. And he returned to him, and lo, he stood by his burnt of sacrifice, and he and the prince of Moab. Now listen, if Jehovah God did not appear to Balaam on that high place, Baal will have appeared. Baal will have come. Because there was already a perfect sacrifice and perfect altar. So Jehovah God quickly overthrew that agenda, that plot, by appearing there and thwarting everything they wanted to do. If God did not come, idols will have come. And that's the problem. Because the idols will have given him the power he needed to destroy the people of God. Do you now understand why God told Israel? He said, when you enter into the promised land, there is something I want you to do. Look for all the high places and demolish all of them. Look for all their altars and shrines, demolish all of them. Together with the images and the idol and everything, destroy all of them. Israel didn't understand. And we too, in this generation, we don't understand. Numbers 33. Numbers 33. Look at verse 50. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the place of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye are passed over Jordan into the land of Canaan, Then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, destroy all their molten images, quite pluck down all their high places. They target their high places and demolish all of them. Don't allow any high place to remain around you. But the activities that go on any high place is not to your own advantage as a child of God. He said, quite pluck them down. Verse 53. And ye shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land and dwell therein, for I have given you the land to possess it. And brethren, you must learn how to do this. Let me teach you this now. When you move, maybe you buy a new property or you move to a new place, please, the first prayer you pray there is the high places in that territory. Demolish it that night. Your first night of stepping to that place, make sure you tear down all the high places around that place. And if you tear it down and you are successful, you yourself will know. How will you know? There will be immediate hostility against you. All the neighbors and everybody will just hate you. And they will manifest it to you physically. You will see it. Then you know you have touched something. Don't go and live under any high place of darkness. Don't go and live because these things exist in the spirit realm does not mean it's not real. Don't go and say, well, this place looks so quiet, so peaceful, so nice. It might look nice in the physical, but spiritually there's a high place there that is going to affect everybody in that environment. That's what the Lord was telling Israel here. He said, when you enter the land of Canaan, target all the high places and bring them down. 1 Kings chapter 3. And you must learn also how to rule over your environment. How to rule over your environment. Because there is no how you can prosper in any environment that the high place of darkness is still standing. It's not possible. It's not possible. You know, it reminds me of that community that did land deliverance. They decided to do land deliverance for their whole village, for their whole community. And during that land deliverance, there was something they saw. Because physically they had an idol in that village. And somebody raised a flag. You know, they just put a white flag in a pole and raised the flag on the shrine of that idol, that village idol. And the Lord opened their eyes to show them that every blessing coming down into that community, to that village, that flag will hijack it. The power of that idol, with that flag raised up, that place has become the high place and it's above every person's head. Every person is walking on the ground, that thing is far high. Until they prayed and demolished all those things before people started to prosper in that place. So what am I saying in essence? Do not take this for granted. 1 Kings chapter 3, look at this one. 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 1. And Solomon made affinity with Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and took Pharaoh's daughter, and brought her into the city of David, until he had made an end of building his own house, and the house of the Lord, and the wall of Jerusalem round about. Only the people sacrificed in high places. Take note of what happened here. I want you to follow this story carefully. There were high places of the Canaanites that Israel didn't demolish. High places that the people in the days of the judges built during backsliding. So high places now have existed, king, and those high places, nobody touched them. Samuel lived, sacrificed, did everything, died without touching the high places. Let's continue. So he said the people sacrificed in high place because there was no house built unto the name of the Lord until those days. Verse 3. And Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of David his father. Only he sacrificed and burnt incense in high places. I want you to see how this is affect us. Do you know that before Solomon was even born, before Solomon was conceived, Jehovah God talked about him to David and called his name and said a lot of good things concerning him. Then Solomon was now born, and the Bible says God loved him and he loved God. Listen carefully to me. No matter how you love God, if any high place existing around you, it will destroy that love. If you do not know how to fight against high places and demolish them, every love you have, not that anything naturally, spiritually, this thing will just begin to happen and affect you. Now let's see Solomon. He was still sacrificing in the high. Why? Because like us today, like the Christians of today, ignorant, not knowing the implication and the impact. Verse 4. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the great high place. 1,000 burnt offering did Solomon offer upon that altar. In Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "What I shall give thee." Do you know Jehovah God did not say anything? He will just keep quiet. He will not tell you, "My daughter, you are living under a high place. My son, this place you are living, this whole prayer is upon a high place you are praying here." He will not say a word. You will be there making your sacrifice upon a high place. 1 Kings chapter 11. 1 Kings chapter 11. Look at verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, "Ye shall not go in unto them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely they will turn away your heart from after their gods." Solomon clave unto this in love. You think it's ordinary? You think it's ordinary? By the time we read, I think the book of Joshua, or the book of, you will see how Solomon derailed. How did he derail? It was one of those idols of the high places, one of those demons of the high places that manipulated him. When you allow a high place to exist around you or your foundation, they will destroy everything the person has built up in life. Remember what Paul said? He said that these are places where rulers of wickedness, the controllers of darkness of this world, that's where they inhabit. Let's continue. Verse 3. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wife turned away his heart. Verse 4. For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wife turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God, as was the heart of David his father. Verse 5. For Solomon went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. Look at verse 7. Then did Solomon build where? What? He started to build high places. He started to build high places. This is somebody that built temple for God. Started to build high places. He built high places for Chemosh in the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Verse 8. And likewise did he for all his strange wives. That's about 1,000 high places, which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods. So which means, brethren, the Bible says all of them, at least 700, which means Solomon couldn't convert one of them to the Lord Jehovah God. Not one. With all his wisdom, with all his influence, he couldn't even convert one wife and say, "Come and worship Jehovah God with me." Instead, they converted him, and he started to build high places. Verse 9. And the Lord was angry with Solomon, because his heart was turned from the Lord God of Israel, which had appeared unto him twice. Now, are you looking at what I'm looking at here? Before Israel came, there were high places already in the land, untouched. Israel came during the days of the churches. They built their own high places also, untouched. Solomon now has erected not less than 700 high places, untouched. Now look at the next one. 1 Kings chapter 12. Look at verse 26. 1 Kings 12 verse 26. And Jeroboam said in his heart, "Now shall the kingdom return to the house of David. If these people go up to do sacrifice in the house of the Lord at Jerusalem, then shall the heart of these people turn again unto their Lord, even unto Jeroboam king of Judah, and they shall kill me, and go again to Rehoboam king of Judah." Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, "It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt." And he set the one in Bethel, and the other put he in Dan. And this thing became a sin, for the people went to worship before the one, even unto Dan. And he made an house of high places, and made priests of the lowest of the people. Take note of this. Where there is a high priest, where high is a priest, and where there is a priest, there is a power, a deity, a spirit being that inhabit that place. And there's sacrifice going on there. So these are when you want to deal with high places, you must take all these things out one by one. You must deal with all of them one by one. The high place itself, the priest, the powers that they have in the place which they go to meet, the sacrifices and the covenants. These are things you must demolish for you to be able to say you have brought that place to an end. I'm still going to show you more. Verse 32. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month. So they now made an official day of worship in that high place. Verse 33. So he offered upon the altar which he had made in Bethel the 15th day of the 8th month, even in the month which he has devised on his own heart, and ordained a feast unto the children of Israel, and he offered upon the altar and burnt incense. That was Jeroboam. Jeroboam has now erected 2, plus the one that was existing there before. 1 Kings 15, look at verse 11. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, as did David his father. And he took away the Sodomites out of the land, and removed all the idols that his father had made. And also Michal his mother, even her he removed from being queen, because she has made an idol in a grove. And Asa destroyed her idol and burned it by the brook Kidron. Verse 14. But the high places were not removed. Why did the Bible mention this? Why is it that if you read through the Bible, especially the Kings, you will see that they always mention this? This one tried, did good things, he served God, he loved God, but the high places were not removed. Because they didn't know the power of the high places. They didn't know that all the battle you are fighting, brethren, if the high places are still standing, the battles are all in vain. Did you hear what I said? All this one we are fighting against our foundations, fighting against witchcraft, fighting against darkness, fighting against all wickedness. If their high places are still standing, forget it. They will love God, they will serve God, but they will not touch the high places. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was perfect with the Lord all his days. Your heart can be perfect, but the high places might still be standing. And you can see, this was specifically mentioned every time in the Bible, because they were coexisting with the high places, not knowing the impact, not knowing the effects. 1 Kings chapter 22, look at verse 41. And Jehoshaphat the son of Asa, we have seen Asa, his heart was perfect. His son Jehoshaphat now took over. The Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Asa, king of Israel. And Jehoshaphat was 30 and 5 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 20 and 5 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shiri. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father. He turned not aside from it, doing that which was right in his eyes to the Lord. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away. Why was Bible so fascinated about the high places? That no matter how you serve God, no matter how you love God, no matter how devoted and dedicated you are, if you have not touched high places, there will be a but or nevertheless somewhere. We have seen 2 people now, father and son, Asa and Jehoshaphat. 2 of them, they were fine, they were perfect in everything. But because they didn't demolish the high places, you can see it always comes up. Always comes up. 2 Kings chapter 17. 2 Kings 17. Look at verse 29. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the house of the high places which the Samaritans had made. The Samaritans that were living there before. They had high places. They had, and then every nation now came and built high place. Increasing high places. Every nation in their own city wherein they dwell. Verse 32. So they feared the Lord, and they made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the house of the high places. They feared the Lord, and they served their own gods, after the manner of the nation whom they carried away from thence. And do you know that the high places that existed during the judges, when Israel backslid, to the time of Solomon, if you calculate it, the Bible says that from the time Israel came into the land to the days of David was 14 generations. From David to the carrying away into captivity, another 14 generations. I look about 2,800 years, and they still standing. The high places, I don't know how long the one in your foundation has been standing. I don't know how long. The one of this land, at least the history tells us that London was founded around AD 43. So maybe high places since then are still standing untouched, and they are building more. You do see how we are reading it here? Every nation, their own, every nation. Maybe when some people coming from Africa, they will carry their own idol and come and build their own high place around your neighborhood. Other people come from Asia, carry their own place, build and erect. So high place everywhere. You now understand the source of all the troubles everywhere. 2 Kings 23. Because all this thing that Asa did and Jehoshaphat did, do you know the son of Jehoshaphat, Manasseh? Manasseh came up and rebuilt all of them again. Manasseh came and repaired them, the son of Hezekiah. Now look at 2 Kings 23 verse 4. And the king commanded Hilkiah. This was now Josiah. Josiah was already towards the tail end of when Judah was to go into captivity. Towards the tail end. Josiah now came, and the priests of the second order and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for the Baal. So all the whole property of Baal has ended up inside the temple. And for the grove and for all the host of heaven, and he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them unto Bethel. So Josiah started to cleanse the land. I want you to take particular note of everything that Josiah did. Take note, because this is how to deal with high places. Verse 5. He put down the idolatrous priest. I told you that where there is a high place, there is a priest. He slaughtered all the priests first. He slaughtered all the priests, whom the king of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem. Them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, to the moon, to the planet, and to all the host of heaven. Do you see what we are talking about? Do you see what we are talking about? They were worshipping all this power. And those power, those deity, and those fallen angels inhabiting those places, they are the people they are fellowshipping with. Do you now see where it is called high places? Because it's far above the earth level. And that's where they have dominion over everything living on earth. Verse 6. And he brought out the grove from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem unto the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and stamped it small to powder, and cast the powder thereof upon the graves of the children of the people. So now, when you attack the priests, you have to attack the physical structure. That is the altars, the shrines, the setups. You have to also demolish those ones and burn them with fire. Verse 7. And he brake down the houses of the Sodomites that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the grove. People that patronize those things, people that are attached to those things, that practice those things, you have to deal with them too. Verse 8. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defied the high places where the priests had burned incense. He destroyed all the high places, from Geba to Beersheba. And all this is what the Lord has been talking about for over 2,000 years. Josiah now started to do it. He destroyed from Geba down to Beersheba, and break down high places of the gates that were in the entering of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand at the gate of the city. Verse 9. Nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. Can you imagine? They were eating unleavened bread. Verse 10. And he defiled Tophet, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire to Molech. That's where they burned their children to Molech. He destroyed the place. Verse 11. And he took away the horses that the king of Judah had given to the sun. There is a horse that king of Judah dedicated to the sun, at the entering of the house of the Lord, by the chamber of Nathan Melech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburb, and burned the chariots of the sun with fire. This everything associated with the high place, you have to burn them with fire. This is how to deal with it. Verse 12. And the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down and break them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron. And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, they even have a place they call the Mount of Corruption. Why? Which Solomon, the king of Israel, had builded for Ashtaroth, the abomination of Zidon, and for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, the king defied. Do you see the form of job that Josiah came to do? He started from all the ancient high places and started to destroy them. Destroy the one of the judges, destroy the one of Solomon, destroy the one in all the whole coast of Israel and Judah. Then look at what follows. Verse 14. And he break in pieces the images and cut the groves, and cut down the groves, and filled their places with bones of men. All the people that worship all those things that died since, and they buried them, he dug up all their bones and burnt them. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel, you remember this altar? The one that Jeroboam erected in Bethel, the one that young prophet was sent to go and prophesy against Jerusalem, and they conspired. That altar was still existing until the days of Josiah. That's over 1,000 years old. That altar was still there. People were still worshiping on that altar. People were still sacrificing on that altar. So that altar Bethel and the high place which Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, had made, both that altar and the high place he break down and burned the high place and stamped it small to powder and burned the grove. This is how to deal with it, brethren. Verse 16. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were there in the mount, and sent and took the bones out of the sepulchres and burned them on the altar. Where all the graves of the ancient people that died since, all their graves, he gathered all their bones and started to burn them. Sometimes we fight against the dead. People will say, if they are dead, they are dead. No, they are not dead yet. There's still more to do to them. Josiah gathered all their bones and started to burn it with fire. Which the man of God that proclaimed, who proclaimed this word, verse 17. Then he said, what title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, it is the sepulchre of the man of God, which came from Judah, and proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. Because that young prophet was buried there, and the bone was still there. You remember the old prophet that deceived him? That one said to bury me inside that place, because he knew those prophecies would come to pass. Even though it took more than 500 years to come to pass, it still came to pass. So Josiah now said, let him alone, don't touch that one. Let no man move his bones. So they alone with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria. Verse 19. And all the house also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the king of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger, Josiah took away and did to them according to all the act that he had done in Bethel. And he slew all the priests of the high place. Do you see how to do it? All the priests of the high place, he slaughtered all of them that were upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned to Jerusalem. Verse 24. Moreover, it has not finished though. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, because these are the people that patronize the high places. These are people that operate from the high places. That's where they see vision and they see people's end. They see every secret about your life. They work with familiar spirits and the wizards and the images and the idols and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem. Did Josiah put away, that he might perform the word of the Lord, which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. Verse 25. And like unto him was there no king before him, that turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his mind, according to the law of Moses. Neither after him arose there any like unto him. He was the only person that did what God has been yearning for over 2,000 years. He was the only person that was able to do it. But look at verse 26. The impact, the damages of the high places that were left untouched for too long. Look at it in verse 26. He said, notwithstanding, with all the things Josiah did, brethren, with all the things Josiah did, notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath. It was too late. God refused to change his mind. With everything Josiah has done, God refused to forgive Judah. God made up his mind already, saying they must go into captivity. That's exactly the problem. Places lead the people of God into captivity. They lead the children of God into the captivity of poverty, captivity of sickness and diseases and stagnancy and blockages. When the people of God disregard it and they ignore it and they feel it's not relevant and they focus on other things, the impact we cannot estimate it. Look at it. The Bible says God cannot turn again from his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him without. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and I will cast off this city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said my name shall be there. So I will know. I have to cast them out. I have to throw them away. I have to ignore all the covenants. I have to do unto them what is in my heart. How did it happen? High places. He ignored high places. All removed high places. High places that they had all opportunity to destroy and they didn't touch them. They were busy with other things. I don't know the kind of high places you must address here today. I don't know the high place, whether you have to pray for God to open your eyes and show you high places. Maybe there are people that you might even need to deal with specifically that operate from high places. Maybe even people that built those high places in the first place, that erected them. I remember the first time the Father taught us in this church to fight against the dead. To fight against the dead. The day we prayed that prayer, there was a revelation the Father gave me. In that revelation, it was like we came upon a cemetery. And we were like digging and burning bones and destroying people there and we got to one grave like that. There were two graves side by side. And those people they sat up like this. They were husband and wife. They sat up. You can see all their body is sand. They've turned to sand. But they sat up like a piece of sand. And they said, we are missionaries. And I say, sleep. And they slept back. I say, don't touch them. The same thing again that happened during Josiah's time. So you now see that the battle we are talking about, you might need to deal with that name in your foundation, your father's house, in your mother's house, in your village, that erected that high place, that created that high place, that till today people are still worshiping on that high place. All the witchcraft in that family, in that foundation, you pray, you fight against witchcraft. You are not prevailing. Why? Because they operate from high places. They operate from high places. Close your eyes like this and say, my God and my Father, forgive me, Lord, for not doing this earlier, for not addressing the high places, for not fighting against the high places.
Thank you for watching. If this message blessed you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to join our growing community of faith. You've just listened to the sermon, but there are powerful prayers that follow. Due to social media rules and guidelines, the prayers have been removed from this video. However, you can access the full prayers and more life-changing resources by visiting www.pastorhillary.org or downloading our app, Diadem Media. If you're in the London area, we'd love to have you fellowship with us in person at 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. If you have any questions about this message, want counseling from Pastor Hillary, or wish to share your testimonies following the prayers, please leave a comment below and someone from our team will get in touch. Until next time, may God bless you abundantly and guide you in all your ways. Stay victorious.